Okay, so we are starting now the chapter called Coordinate Geometry of the Circle. So the first thing we have to look at is we need to look at the equation of a circle where the center is on 0, 0. So like everything with this chapter, there is once again another formula. So the formula for all these equations is going to be x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared, where r there is always going to be the radius. But this is only for a circle that has its center on 0, 0. Okay, so if we look at these two circles here and this one down here, we can see that for each of these circles, the center of the circle is on 0, 0. Okay, so for each of these circles here, okay, we can use this formula here, x squared plus y squared is equal to the radius squared. So if we have a look at the first one here, we have a circle and it's, as I said, its center is clearly on 0, 0. So the equation of this circle will be in the format x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. And then to get the final answer then, for this circle, the radius is 3. So the equation is going to be x squared plus y squared is equal to the radius squared, which will be 3 squared, which will be equal to 9. And it's as simple as that. So that is the equation for that first circle. The next circle, if we have a look at it, once again, its center is definitely on 0, 0. So its equation is definitely going to be x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. And if we look at where the circle cuts the axes, all right, it is clear that the radius of this circle is definitely going to be 5 all the way around. So if the radius is going to be 5, then the equation is going to be x squared plus y squared is equal to the radius squared, 5 squared is equal to 25. So that's the equation of that circle. So as you can see, we are just always following this formula here. If the center is on 0, 0, this is the formula. It's x squared plus y squared is equal to whatever the radius squared is. If we have a look at the third one down here, once again, this circle has a center on 0, 0. So the equation will be in the format x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. And then we can see here that the radius is the square root of 10. So the equation is going to be x squared plus y squared is equal to the square root of 10 squared. All right, because it's the radius squared. And then we know what happens here. This is going to go to x squared plus y squared, and that's actually just going to be 10. So that is the equation of that circle there. Okay, if we have a look at the fourth question here. So this is the other way around. I actually give you the equation and we need to draw the circle. So draw a circle of equation. Now if you look at it, it starts with x squared plus y squared, just like the equations of all the other ones. So that means that this circle here needs to have a center of 0, 0. And then it says is equal to 16. Okay, so that means that if that is 16, okay, that represents r squared. So then the radius of this circle has to be 4. So if you were to draw in this circle here, okay, this is what it looked like here. It would have a radius of 4. And for example, down here, it would touch the x-axis here at -4, 0. So that is the first part of this here. This is the equation here. And that is what we are dealing with. Okay, so here is the next question that we're going to have a look at. So this one says, find the equation of the following circle. So we have a circle here. Okay, so the center of that circle is clearly on 0, 0. So once again, we can say that the equation of this circle needs to be in the format that we were just talking about. X squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. But in this question, they do not tell us what the radius is there, so we're going to have to find it ourselves. So as hope you can see there, to find the radius there, we're actually just going back to Junior Cert Maths, and we're actually just going to use the distance formula here to calculate the distance between this point, which we all know is 0, 0, and P here, which is 4, 3. So just very quickly, this is the formula you would use here, the distance formula, which is in the log tables. It is x2 minus x1 to be squared plus y2 minus y1 to be squared. You would fill it in. Okay, so as we know, we could label that as x1, y1, and this one here could be labeled as x2, y2. We would fill it in, so we would get maybe 4, minus 0 squared plus 3 minus 0 squared. That's going to give us the square root of 4 squared plus 3 squared, which is going to give us square root of 16 plus 9, which is going to give us the square root of 25, which is finally equal to 5. So we now know that the distance, or the radius here, is equal to 5. And now that we know the radius, we can go back here and we can say that our equation now is going to be x squared plus y squared is equal to 25, is the equation of that circle there. So sometimes if they don't give you a piece of information, you're going to have to use another formula or maybe something with the Junior Cert to find that piece of information, and then you can fill in your main formula here, which is the equation of a circle. Okay, so I'm going to get you to try this question on your own. So it says, find the equation of the circle below. And I give you a circle, and we have a point out here, which is B, and we have a point out A here. And this is the center. Okay, so I'll call that C. So that means then that AB is a diameter of the circle. So what I want you to do is, as the question says, I want you to find the equation of the circle. So you can pause the video now, give that question a try, and then when you come back then I'll do it. Okay, so to have a look at this question here, okay, we don't know a lot of things about this circle. Number one, we don't know what the radius is, and number two, we don't know, they did not tell us what the center is. So we have to find the radius and we need to find the center. So hopefully you can see there that to find the center point would actually just be the midpoint between here and here. So we actually need to use the midpoint formula, which would be x1 plus x2 all over 2, comma y1 plus y2 all over 2. You would label your points here, x1, y1, x2, y2, and fill them in. So you'll get 3 minus 3 all over 2, and then minus 4 plus 4 all over 2. And you see there we get a midpoint of 0, 0. So that means that our center is on 0, 0. So now we know our center, and now to find the radius, what you would do is you would use the distance formula to find the distance between here and there, or you could use the distance formula to find the distance between here and this point here, and that will give you your radius. So we already used the distance formula, so I'm just going to tell you the answer. If you were to use the distance formula between here and here, okay, you should be getting a radius of 5 as well. So now we know everything we need to know about this circle. We know its center is on 0, 0, and we know it has a radius of 5. And because the center was on 0, 0, I now know that the equation must be in this format here. X squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. And I know it fully then because it's x squared plus y squared is equal to 25 because the radius was 5. So that brings us nicely on to the last point I need to tell you. If you want to find the equation of a circle, you need two things. The first thing you need is you must know the center of the circle, and then the other thing that you need to know is you need to know the radius. So that is very important. They are the two things you need to know to find the equation of a circle. Okay, so this is the last question that I want you to do in this video. So if we have a look at this question, it says find the equation of the circle below, and it tells you that the line 2x minus 3y minus 6 is equal to 0 is a tangent. So I drew the line in here, and it says it's a tangent, which means it touches the circle just once like that. What we do know is that the circle has a center of 0, 0. So because it has a center of 0, 0, we know that the equation needs to look like this, as we've said before. But the only thing we don't know is we don't know the radius. So we need to somehow find the radius of the circle, and then we will be able to fill in our equation here to get the answer. So I'm going to get you to pause the video now, and you can give this a go, and then I will do it in a minute. Okay, so as we left off here, we have our circle. We know the center is on 0, 0, so we know that that is the equation. It has to be in that format. And then they told us that this line here was a tangent, and the only thing we didn't know that we needed to find out was the radius. Okay, so the way to do this is we have a theorem that tells us about a tangent and the radius. It tells us that they need to meet each other at a 90-degree angle. So the tangent and the radius are perpendicular to one another. So that's very important, because now, if you think about it, we are just looking for the perpendicular distance between this line and this point here. And we already have a formula for the perpendicular distance from a point to a line. So the formula that we know is from the last video. So the formula is the distance is equal to the absolute value a by x1 plus b by y1 plus c all over the square root of a squared plus b squared. And that is the perpendicular distance from a point to a line, and we did cover that in the last video. So all I need to do now is just to fill this in. So this is my equation here, and I know that that is in the form ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. And then this is my point here, and we know that that's in the form x1, y1. So to fill this in then, the distance will be the absolute value of a, which is 2, multiplied by my x1, which is 0, plus b, which is minus 3, multiplied by my y1, which is 0, and then plus c at the end, and we know that the c is minus 6, all over the square root of a squared, which is going to be 2 squared, plus b squared, which is going to be minus 3 squared. So if we do all that out, we get our distance there. If we do that all out in the calculator, we get an answer of 6 all over the square root of 13. So that is our distance there. We can leave it like that. The distance then is equal to 6 all over the square root of 13. So that now is our radius. So now I can go to finish the question. Because the center was on 0, 0, I know that the equation needs to be in that format. And I now know what the radius is. The radius, I now know, is 6 all over the square root of 13. So I put it in 6 all over the square root of 13, but I need to square it. And then finally, to simplify that, then it will be x squared plus y squared is equal to, okay, so 6 squared we know is 36 all over, and the square root of 13 squared is just going to give me 13. So that is the final answer there. That is the equation of that circle.